Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hi and welcome to this edition of Pull Up a Sandbag with Joe, and we start the session with the week that was, where I take a look at what's happened in the previous week. Then we move on to Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, a great part that I really enjoy doing because I get to interview and chat to veterans who have transitioned from the military and become really successful, so you can learn how to do it too, even better. Or some people who I feel are real leaders, and sometimes I have a feature on what I think will be helpful for you. And then we finish off with the health, wealth and mindset section, where I pick one of those subjects for each podcast, where I give a little bit of my take on things and perhaps give you some tips on how you can get even better results than you are doing presently. So we start with the week that was. So, what's gone on in the week preceding the 4th of June 2022? Well, what a week. I mean, you had your usual news features, but the one thing that has really amazed me, and I just think it's been fantastic, is this is the week that we've celebrated the service of who I consider to be the most famous woman in the world. And once you know who it is, you'll probably realise that's the case too. Not a celebrity in the traditional sense, as in a pop star or movie star, but a celebrity that over the years has reached across the globe with love, service and kindness like no other. This woman I am referring to is the Queen, our Queen, the Queen of Great Britain. We have observed a remarkable spectacle over the last few days, which has been truly wonderful. And if you've not seen it yet, I would recommend you truly do, even if you're not a royalist. It was filled with some absolutely fabulous entertainment. You see, the Queen, when she was crowned, devoted her life to the service of our great country, Great Britain. And she's not faltered in that throughout that period. She is the figurehead of the UK, the Commonwealth, and during a time of enormous social change. Remarkably, she's given the Queen's Christmas message speech on the BBC since 1957. She's presented the World Cup to Bobby Moore in 1966. She has travelled further than any other monarch in history. She's regularly hosted heads of state who've come here, wined and dined them, made sure they've been impressed, and not in a false way either. She's just a natural at being a great host. And of course, it's a pleasure to see. She's also been a part of the jet age, the space age, and the digital age, and creating history in 2014 when she posted her first tweet. She's had links as a royal patron, and still has links as a royal patron or president with over 600, yes, that's 600 charities, military associations, professional bodies and public service organisations, which is a remarkable event. Just answering emails and correspondence from them is a full-time job without the rest of the stuff that she does. She's hosted garden parties, visited schools and supported good causes. She leads our nation in Remembrance Sunday and celebrity events. Despite the trials and tribulations of her own personal life, which has all been under the close scrutiny of the media, she has continued to serve us and is a shining example, I feel, to us all of how one can overcome challenges in whatever guise, nature or complexity. She was even dropped in by parachute with James Bond at our 2012 Olympic Games. Well, actually, it looked like that. Cameras are clever. She had the good nature and sense of humour to allow that to be done, though, which says a lot, doesn't it? Our Queen has also, on top of all of that, supported 14 Prime Ministers personally, and known 14 Prime Ministers all the way back to Winston Churchill, who had a big influence on her life when she was just a young Queen. And since that time, she's had weekly audiences with them, which are top secret. And the fact is, I'm sure that she's mentored or just given an unbiased opinion and has never taken sides with any political party or persuasion, and just remained objective. On top of that, she's met 13 of the last 14 presidents of America. And she even hosted many of them too, having a really strong relationship with Michelle Obama and the President, Barack Obama. The only president that missed out was Lyndon Johnson. So that was a shame for him, really. And on top of that, she's responsible for awarding the coveted birthday and New Year's honours list to thousands of worthy recipients. And over the last few days, in the week that was, we've had the pleasure of watching a celebration the like we will probably never see again. We saw on the first day the Trooping of the Colour, which is steeped with tradition, right? Goes back hundreds of years, almost 300 years. And this is where Prince Charles took the salute on behalf of our Queen. After which they then paraded down to Buckingham Palace, where the Queen was present, and that we observed the flyby of 70 aircraft, so one for each of the years that she's been on the throne. And they timed it to perfection, flying over, bang on the hour. And the penultimate formation was formed the figure of the 70, followed by the red arrows in their usual flare, trailing red, white and blue. Then the next day we saw the Thanksgiving ceremony. And that was held at St. Paul's Cathedral, which was a really pleasurable service with a lot of meaningful dialogue, and some great relationships were formed. Then the day after that, there was horse racing at Epsom Downs, and we saw some great racing. And on the third day, opened the party at the Palace. And she opened with a video clip with Paddington Bear, displaying her wit and sense of humour when she shared the reason why she always clutches her handbag so firmly. It's because, of course, she carries a marmalade sandwich for later in it, as she explained to Paddington. And after this revelation of the marmalade sandwich in her handbag, we saw a lineup of stars providing music throughout the decades, each decade being presented by different artists, and they entertained us well into the hours of darkness. On the fourth day of celebration, absolute marvelled at the spectacle of the Jubilee Pageant, a 3-kilometre long parade depicting the time during the Queen's reign, full of colour, fun and mesmerising spectacles. Even featured the Queen's favourites, such as the corgis, and all of the Commonwealth flags. This, as well as featuring well-known celebrities, ordinary people were shown doing extraordinary things. And that happens every day. And that's what puts the great into Britain. And I'm so pleased the celebrations went to plan. And even though I appreciate the Queen was not able to attend all the events due to some mobility issues, she did grace us at the beginning and the end of the festivities and showed her appreciation, which was really welcomed and cheered by the crowds. During the time and in the evening of the party at the palace, we also heard the most sincere of speeches from her son and grandson, Prince Charles and the Duke of Cambridge, who gave positive, moving and emotional presentations which fully captured the emotions of our great nation's fondness of her. Thank you, Ma'am, for your service to our country, our great country, and I consider it an honour to have served in Your Majesty's Armed Forces for 15 years in the Corps of Royal Engineers. You are the personification of duty, the mistress of small step accomplishments, and a perfect model of how to lead by example. Long may you continue to act as a beacon of our nation, our Commonwealth and globe throughout the world, and being mindful that you remain in our thoughts and prayers long into the future. Hi, my name is Joe O'Connor, founder and CEO of the Transformer Company, and I help veterans and veteran business owners and people who support veterans become bigger, better and bolder versions of themselves. And I do this in three particular areas: health, wealth and mindset. Your success matters is a phrase I use often with my clients, and how you can change your life. And what I wanted to do was come up with some sort of guide to help people who are just like you realise that your success matters and that you can change your life. So I wrote a book called Think You Can, Know You Can, because I think you've got to start with, see, there I go, I think you've got to start with the fact that thinking you can do something and practicing it in your mind, and then once you do it enough times, then you become to a stage where you know you can. And in this book it gives a real easy guide which is simple, effective and unique on how you can get from where you are now to where you want to be. So all you've got to do to get this book is scan the QR code now, and that will take you to somewhere where you can download the book for free, no obligation, and it's my gift from me to you. So change your life, your success matters, and have a brilliant day. Thank you. Hello and welcome to this edition of Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. And in this edition, I just want to share with you the reason why I set up Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. You see, because last October I ran an event which was all about standing on the shoulder of giants and what the giants that we've met in our lives that make a big difference. And it was an absolutely fabulous day, and I've decided that I want to do that each year. And this section of the podcast is set up because I want to introduce people who are either veterans and have transitioned into Civvy Street, or those who support veterans and help them transition into Civvy Street. And I just want to spend this edition looking at the giants that have helped me throughout my life. And of course, it starts with my family from when I was a young boy, and now, more latterly, my wife and children, who are a constant inspiration to me on a regular basis. And in between all those times, then I've looked at the countless medical staff who kept me alive during my various introductions with death, shall we say. My recovery from dying at the age of 14 years old, when I was in a road traffic incident on the way to Lourdes to help the sick in France. I died 3 times and was brought back to life, fortunately, and then experienced a near fatal death while serving in the military and on a Special Forces selection patrol. So exciting times indeed. And the giants also that from those experiences at the age of 14 when I was told I might not walk again, then joining the military some 4 years later and being trained by some of the best military instructors in the world, and then the buddies that I met during my time in the military for who I would have given my life in times of conflict, and they would have done the same for me, which is the biggest sacrifice you can make for each other. And they also helped me through some of the toughest times that I faced. And also during that time, my friends outside the military who helped me along the way. And the business mentors way back in 1988 when I first left the military to give me some fabulous business techniques, strategies and systems that got me through the economic booms and busts. And by the way, have I seen a few economic booms and busts? The first one just before I got out of the military, which happened in 1987. And in 88, when I started as a financial advisor, wow, what a time to start as a financial advisor just after the markets had absolutely crashed. And what I've discovered is these strategies are very useful, and these are what I want to pass on to you. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some what I feel are groundbreaking news and groundbreaking strategies that I can share with you to help you get where you want to be. So I suppose what I'd like to share with you, I was chatting to a friend of mine the other day, Winston Wagstaff, who is on the board of the Transformation for Veterans charity, and he's a good Yorkshire man. And he was telling me about a conversation he had with a friend of his, one of his mentors, back in the 60s or 70s, 1960s and 70s. And there was a smile came to his face, a small smile, and I thought, well, there's going to be a punchline here. And he said, his mentor said to him, Winston, life is like Kipling. Winston thought, how's that? He said, it's Rudyard. And of course, Rudyard Kipling is a famous poet. And what I'd like to do is share with you what I feel. I'd share with you the first verse of one of his famous poems that I think anyway is tremendously inspirational. And we use this in the Corps of Royal Engineers in the EOD unit, the Explosive Ordnance Disposal, otherwise known as the Bomb Disposal Unit, when we went to an incident site. And the poem goes something like this. I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why, and when and how, and where and finally who. I send them over land and sea, I send them east and west. But after they have worked for me, I give them all a rest. Now, going back to bomb disposal, when we arrived at an incident site, we would ask those questions. So, what is it? Why do you think it got there? When did it happen? How did it get there? Where is it? Which is a really important one. Where is the device? And who put it there? See, because by putting all this information together, we were able to have an idea of the real threat. So, and what I do now, I find that those questions are really important to get an understanding of where I am now, where we are now, and where we want to get to, where I want to get to. Because once I've identified that, then I can achieve anything that I want. And I want to share with you now what was my reasoning for creating a Transformer brand and my journey to creating it, because it's been very interesting. I first of all shared with my journey, my life's journey with some people, and they were brand specialists, and they said, wow, what a story. We need to get that into a brand. So that's when the Transformer brand was formed, with the logo and the strapline, think you can, know you can. Because what they recognised from interrogating me, it wasn't how that sounds. What they did in questioning me was find out what makes me tick. Right? And it was like an interrogation at times, because I had to do a lot of homework. I had to write things down. I had to put it all down on paper so they understood what made me tick. And what they discovered was to think you can and know you can. That is, it's only a few words, but it means so much. Because what they found was that I had a process where I would just go through thinking I can, like visualizing. And then I would do it so often, right? Every second of the day and night, all my waking hours, right? When I'm lying in the bed paralyzed and I couldn't move, I would listen to music. I would visualize myself walking. I would visualize myself in the gym. Because remember, from my military days as an army physical training instructor, I knew what I had to do to get fit, to get back from being paralyzed to not paralyzed. And yeah, I know if you're listening, you will say that there are medical reasons why you're paralyzed, and I get that as well. No one can take away, though, how important the positive thinking was and the positive mindset, because that's unfathomable, right? You cannot measure it. Now, I cannot go back to the time when I had the incident and then it processed with a negative mind and see how that got me. Well, I wouldn't want to anyway. I prefer just knowing that with the positive mindset, I'm in a position now where I'm a lot better than I was then. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Fabulous. So, what I want you to get from today is that I've found that there's a lot of speakers out there, and I've come across speakers who charge a lot of money, hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds, tens of thousands of pounds, or even hundreds of thousands of pounds to help people get where they want to be. And I've seen people, I've witnessed people spend that money as well. And guess what? I've spent lots of money on my personal education as well. And they motivate the people to want to get stuff done. The fact is, though, that the people don't really know what they want to get done, right? They know that they want to help people get better, and they know that they have information that can help them. It's just that they're not sure how to do it. So they end up being motivated to get nothing done. Whereas I believe, right, that inspiring people to educate, to get educated and then motivate them is a much better way, which is why the next part of the Transformer brand, Inspire, Educate, Motivate, comes to being, because I love inspiring people to learn about what they know and actually to get educated in the sense that to make that information even more developed. So then, once that's achieved, then we go for motivation. And because of my links with the military, then I thought, right, okay, so what else can we do, Joe? And that's when I thought about supporting veterans to achieve success, right? Because that's a big driver for me. It's got to be the biggest driver that I've got. I want to make sure that those of you who were prepared to sacrifice your lives, to give up everything to defend our Queen and country, means that you should be supported too. So today, if nothing else, what I'd like to do is just give you the chance to download my free ebook. It's called Think You Can, Know You Can, because your success matters to me. And the fact that you have a chance to change your life matters to me too. So if you scan the QR code, and if you're listening and you can't scan the QR code, well, where you click on the link for the podcast, I'll make sure that there's a URL, a link there to take you to be able to download the free ebook. So now we come to the part where I'm going to explain and share some details about the Pathfinder. Right, so what is the Pathfinder? Well, I did say that I wanted to be in a position where I could share my journey. And what started with the Pathfinder initially was just for me to write a book to pass on to my children so they could benefit, and grandchildren and their children, and, you know, just so I leave a legacy. Because if I can just change one person's lives, and better still, if I can change all my children's, and their children's children, if I can do something, leave something to change their lives, then wouldn't that be great? And then, as I was writing it, the editor who was helping me put it together said, this should go out to more than just your children, Joe, because it's so content rich. It's fabulous. And I thought, well, maybe it is. Because, you know, when you're doing stuff and you don't recognize just how important it is and how life-changing it is and what a difference it can make to someone's life. Well, that was me, right? Because I just wanted to write a book that was full of content and full of what I'd experienced in my life. And I didn't recognize just how much valuable content was in it. So the person who was editing it said, look, we've got to get this into more of a structure so you could deliver it. And then that got me thinking, right, rather than just write a book, let's put exercises in it and stuff that makes you think, and where you can record things, and then actually, because there are some journals out there, right, that just have blank pages and an inspirational phrase at the bottom. And that's great. Because if you've got, it's great to start with a blank page and actually write stuff in and maybe be inspired by a phrase or given by a famous celebrity or a famous person, a well-known person sometime in the past. I thought, I want to do more than that though. I want to structure it in such a way that it asks the questions, you know, going back to Rudyard Kipling. And I wanted to do it in such a way where it would help you really root deep down inside you to get the answers to the questions you're asking, which is why the Pathfinder was created. And this is the Pathfinder presentation pack. This is how you get it in the post when you receive it, because I wanted to make sure that it was just the whole journey is brilliant. And you'll see also that you've got the wraparound, then inside it's in a brown box. Brown, why brown? That doesn't look that Gucci, does it? It doesn't look fabulous. There's no bells and whistles, because I also looked at the sustainability, and the brown box, I've been told, is the best way because you're not using any added colours. The wraparound has got a colour, but the box, there's more cardboard in that, so I was told that to do it with brown will be good and fair to the planet. And also it gives you something to store your Pathfinder in, so you can just put it in the bookshelf, right, when you've finished reading it. So that's brilliant. So that got me thinking also how to structure it, because it became more than just one book, and I found that I couldn't put it into one book. And what it ended up as structured is there's a complete package. So you've got the package on the right hand side, which is how it actually goes. But then there are 3 journals, right? 3 actual journals, and I looked at how to deliver this as well, because I wanted to go through a process which, first of all, sets up the mind, because sometimes if you dropped in at the deep end, then you can feel like you're drowning, you can be overwhelmed. Whereas I wanted to do it step by step. So there are 3 journals. And they're structured in such a way that there's a clear strategy for you to discover where you are now, where you want to be, and then I guide you through how to get there. So the 3 journals, one is the reconnaissance, the second is the strategic advance, and the third is tail end Charlie. Now, you may well recognise that there's a military slant to this. So if we just have a look at the reconnaissance first, right, this is the lighter reading of the three, and this is just to get you in the mindset to be prepared to go on a journey of discovery. And it sets up, first of all, with something that I read some years ago, and I watched a video from an admiral who was Special Forces. Now, what I've done is I've gone through my military career, and I'm not suggesting that you join the military, not at all. I'm going to give you what I learned from the military in these three journals, and you don't have to go through the pain of being in the military. Of course, if you want to join the military, that's perfectly fine. If you prefer of getting the best out of yourself in business, then you can do that using these journals. So Make Your Bed helps you set up your day. There's certain processes that you can go through before you even start the day, which means that the day ends the way you want it to. In the military, the Make Your Bed was one of the first things that we learned. And when we didn't get it right, there was bedding going out the window, there was some beds going out the window. And the good thing was, when the bed went out the window and it broke, you had to pay for it. How daft's that? But that was all about get it right the first time, guys being men and women. Because if you don't, we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again until you get it right. So the Make Your Bed is how to get your mind set. Does that make sense? Then chapter 2, we look at transformation. Because everybody thinks that you've got to spend absolutely ages for transformation. Well, no, the first part comes in an instant, just like that, because it happens in your mind, right? Because once you've decided that you want a transformation, whatever that is for you, then you can start it straight away. The chapter 3 is decisions. Now, I found something very interesting once. Someone said to me, if you've got three frogs on a pond sitting on a leaf, right, and one decides that it wants to jump into the water, how many frogs have you got sitting on the leaf then? And I thought, well, you've got 3, haven't you? He said, well, think again. One of the frogs has only decided to jump in. They've not actually jumped. So you've got 3 frogs still sitting on the leaf. And I thought, well, that makes sense. So, well, what's the point of your story? So, well, you need to take action. So decisions in chapter 3 shows you how to go through and what you need to do to make your decision into an action, so then you can get the real effect of what you want to do. Moving on to chapter 4, we look at cause and effect, or reasons versus excuses. Now, someone told me once a story which I thought, I wasn't understanding it first of all, but by the time they finished, I thought, yeah, I get it. And I heard, and when I recognised through my business life, business career and military career, I thought, yeah, I can see how that makes sense there. Because what they told me is, there was a student at university, and they habitually got their homework in late or didn't turn up for lessons on time, lectures on time. And the tutor, the head of year tutor, had a word and said, look, what's happening with you? I thought you wanted to get your qualification, your degree, and you wanted a good mark. And the student came up with a whole load of excuses, right? And the tutor said, well, that's great. The thing is, I don't want any excuses. And the student said, I haven't got excuses. And he said, well, what have you got then? He said, I've got very, very, very good reasons. Right? So the fact is that student didn't appreciate that a reason is the same as an excuse, because there were reasons justifying what had happened and why they couldn't do what they were supposed to do. So there was a cause and effect. The cause is the excuse, and the effect of the reason is that they weren't getting it done. So chapter 4 takes you through how to get ready for that process. And then something that I found in life, especially when I was paralysed and there were people in the beds next to me who was also paralysed, and they never progressed because they were listening to the dream stealers. You know, the world is full of negativity. People who tell you can't do that, you stupid person, you're not able to do that, no, that's not possible, and it's just not done. You won't be able to do it. You're not clever enough. You're not fit enough. You're not strong enough. You're not light enough. You're not lean enough. You're not strong. Whatever. The thing is that quite often that is a reflection of their experience and how they see life. And how dare you think that you can do something because they can't? Well, guess what? Beware of the dream stealers. Get rid of them. Because chapter 5 goes through that for you to help you recognise what dream stealers are and how to reprocess it. Coming towards the end of the reconnaissance journal, we look at beliefs are empowering. Right? How your beliefs, values and strategies can help you really get what you want. Because you'll remember, and if not, have a look at Henry Ford. He said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's why, unbeknown to me, actually, Think You Can, Know You Can, the brand, that's what it's all about. It's all based on thinking you can do it, that it's possible. Does that make sense? Fabulous. So, chapter 7 is all about focus. Because I see many people focusing on what they don't want, and guess what they get? Yeah, exactly. They get what they don't want. Because the subconscious mind or unconscious mind, you may know it as, gets whatever you're focusing on. It'll just get it. You might not even recognise that it's possible. And you may know people as well who focus on what they don't want, and they end up with it. They might end up in jail, they might end up with putting on more weight, they might end up not having as much money as they should have. And that's all because of the way they're thinking. And I get it as well, that in times of inflation, which we're in now, and in times of high interest rates, feeling tough and maybe lacking belief in yourself and having to make ends meet, it's quite easy. And of course, listening to the media, oh wow, what a journey that is in itself. The fact is that just start to focus on what you want, even if, right, the first thing that you do in the morning is wake up with a smile. No matter what life is going to throw at you, wake up with a smile. Because I can tell you, I've seen people, like I said, when I was lying in bed in hospital, I've seen people who forgot how to smile. And I just forced myself to smile. And then eventually it just became a natural occurrence, which makes a big difference. And then finally, chapter 8 is hit that goal. How to get your goal. I share with you 3 golden secrets. My 3 golden secrets on how you can get your goal. Then we move on to the strategic advance. Now, I've said that each of them, it's a workbook, so you can see that there's lots of stuff in here where you've really got to think hard, and most of it, right, there's writing, there's a guide, but a lot of it is writing stuff down, right? So I'm really happy to share that with you, because chapter 1 looks at how follows why. So when your why is big enough, the how will come. It always will. Again, we go back to Think You Can, Know You Can, and you can get anything you want once you know what your why is. Once you've clarified it, and going back to Kipling as well, the why is in there. So, and then on to chapter 2, focusing on how important chapter 1 was about finding your why. Chapter 2 then looks at the past will not equal the future, right? And Einstein said, if you, The definition of madness is doing the same things on a daily basis and expecting a different result. That's paraphrasing, by the way. But I say it as same stuff, different day. And I take you through the whole process of how to restructure your mind so you can get better results and change the future. Does that make sense? Because this is where it all starts. It starts with you and the way you process stuff. Because then chapter 3, we move on to the transformational formula and discover how to use a simple questioning technique in your life. And it goes a little bit more into the detail of the Kipling strategy, but in much deeper process. So you can get exactly the transformational formula that you need to get your success. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Fabulous. Then we look at chapter 4. And, you know, whenever we were moving from A to B in the military, we always had to know where we were starting from. Because it's pretty pointless if you don't know where you are. Because the UK or the world is broken down into maps. Because you can't just have one big map for the whole world. I know there's a globe. You can buy the Earth's globe and put it as an ornament, and you can look at where the countries are. I'm talking about something that really delves down into a 1 in 50,000 or a 1 in 25,000 scale, i.e. that's the way, the detail on the map, you know, where you can see buildings or you can see roads, everything else. So you need to know where you are. And if you've got the wrong map for a different part of the country than you're in, then that map's useless. So we look at where you are now, and then we look at where you want to get in the future, and then we create a route to get you there. You know, small insignificant steps done on a regular basis get you to a massive change in the end. A massive change. So that's chapter 4. Chapter 5 is really important because this is a driving force. Discover what the successful people do and use to achieve their goals. Then you can implement that and cross-reference it to how you want to achieve your goals. Does that make sense? Fabulous. Then we move on to something that I like particularly, because without this, then everything might seem overwhelming and not able to be done, not possible. Right. Chapter 6 looks at not need but become. This is all about, you know, when people say, oh, you'll never achieve that, that goal's impossible, that's for them. We look at the realms of possibility. We do possibility thinking. So to achieve this goal that you have, who do you need to become to get it? Because we look at the X factor of you, right? The X factor is the hidden factor that nobody knew you had, not even you. So how to pull that out of you. And I do this with the duo of failure, because you've got the unconscious mind or subconscious mind. We've already said about focusing on what you want rather than focusing on what you don't want. Then we look at true behavior, right? True behavior is like water. It always finds its base level, the level that it needs. And what I've found interesting is the people who make New Year's resolutions, and then after a few hours or a few days or when they sober up or a few weeks even, they just stop doing it because it's too hard. Oh, see, it's all about consistency, how to use consistent strategies, techniques, processes, everything that makes you tick to get your true behavior to a higher level, to a higher benchmark, so you can overcome challenges and you can change your life in an instance, just like that. Then we look at something that saved my life and on a few occasions, and actually is what we're trained in the military. It's called an immediate action drill. The immediate action drill, I touched on it before, about how stuff that you do straight away, like getting your respirator on, getting your oxygen mask on, put yours on first, so you sustain your life, so you can help others. Well, the immediate action drill under nuclear, chemical, biological warfare in the military is to get your respirator on as quick as you can. In fact, you've got 9 seconds. After 9 seconds, you've got problems, right? So the 10 steps, the 10 steps I share with you in the Pathfinder gives you a procedure that you have for your immediate action drill to success. So that's the strategic advance. Finally, we come to the tail end Charlie. Now, the tail end Charlie I'm just going through is a guide, and then there's some photographs there of various things throughout my career. And then we'll see that here it's about repetition, consistency to achieve your success as you go through there. So, Chapter 1 looks at the rule of consistency. What makes great behaviour? How do you demonstrate it? How do you do it repeatedly and repeatedly? And how being consistent is the difference that makes a difference. It is the difference that makes a difference, totally, without any shadow of a doubt. Nobody I've met can ever argue with that. Question it. It's not. Consistency is a difference that makes a difference. Moving on to Chapter 2. So that sets you up to make sure you're completing this on a regular basis, your tail end Charlie. Chapter 2 is the guide to using the transformational achievement briefing, right? And the reason it's called that, if you put the letters, the first letter of each word is a tab, right? There's a military term which I go into what a tab is, and in fact I go into a few military terms and explain what they mean. So with it, when you're reading through the 3 journals, it all makes sense, because I use military strategies, civilian strategies, business strategies to help put the whole thing together. And I like things to keep it simple, sincere, using the KISS formula. So everything within the journals is kept as using the KISS formula. And the Transformational Achievement Briefing is the complete user guide. It gives you everything you need to get through the 3 journals that comes in the nice presentable presentation box. And by the way, there's a few other things in there as giveaways which are useful and you'll find interesting. Then we come on to Chapter 3, which is the DIP principles. Right. DIP principles is something that I learned in the military, and it makes learning, discovery, repetition so much easier, because it's a demonstrate, imitate, practice. Now, what's the demonstrate, imitate, practice? Well, it's where I demonstrate something. So in the guide, you get a demonstration, then you imitate it, and then you practice. And you keep practicing, consistent, and then you start to get absolutely brilliant, fabulous, and fantastic results. Because the Pathfinder Tail End Charlie procedure shows you how to get the most from your Pathfinder journal. And that's what Chapter 4 is all about. Chapter 5 is great, because I don't know about you, but when I've been doing training and I've been learning, sometimes I've got a bit overwhelmed because I've not understood what the author, of the video or the book has been saying, because they've not given me a live example. Because I'm very visual, right? I like to see an example, and I also like to see what it's going to produce. Some people just need to go through it from a technical point of view. Others need to hear it. I need all 3 really. I need to see it as well, and I need to be able to put it into context. Because just telling me that 2 + 2 = 4, that's all right if you learn it on a repetition basis. But I want to understand, how does it equal 4, and what does 4 mean? Does that make sense? So in Chapter 5, I give you live examples of how to use this. And then Chapter 6 onwards takes you through to the tabs, Transformational Achievement Briefings, which are weekly, so you're recording on a weekly basis what your results are, what you're doing, how you're changing things with transformational goals, and and how you're setting them up, what the results have been. Then we, at the end of the first 4 weeks, we do a 4-week result orientated exercise. And then at the end of 13 weeks, we do another one to look back at the previous 13 weeks, to look at your results and how much you've been achieving and moving towards your goal. So we start from where you are at the start to where you are at 1 week, 4 weeks, 13 weeks, until at the end of the 52 weeks, you can see the transformational change. And you'll notice that I haven't done weekly, monthly, and quarterly, because that isn't how the year's made up. This is the thing that's unique about this, is I break it down into a weekly, 4 weekly, and then 13 weeks, because 4 times 13 is 52. And if you look at the monthly, you'd think 3 months, people automatically think 3 months, oh, it's 12 weeks. Well, no. In the way I've developed it and delivered it, it's 13 weeks. When you've done all of that and gone through the first year, we look at the next phase, because then you get the opportunity to order your next Tail End Charlie, so you can do the following year. And then over a series of 1, 3, 5, 10 years and onwards, you can see the difference that it's made. And it's all affordable, right? You don't necessarily need to buy the journals 1 and 2. Unless, of course, you want to, because you've already done that. You might want to buy it intermittent periods, just to see how it's changed, and you're changing of things. Because I don't know about you, but when I read a book the first time, I mean, it's scientific fact that you do not retain 100% of what you read. The best effort, I think, is 70%. So when I read a book for the second time, maybe a month later or 6 months or a year later, or even longer, I recognised something different from that book. I mean, I've read How to Influence Friends many times, or How to Make Friends and Influence People even, right? I've read that many times. And The Compound Effect, right, I've read that many times, and each time I get something different from it, and I listen to audio books repeatedly. So that's why using this consistently, what it's all about, right? And the next phase guides you through what you can do next. So that's the Pathfinder. I'm so proud that I can share that with you, because this has got my whole life's work in it, and I want to make it available to you. Now, as I said at the beginning, my editor, when they were editing it for me to pass to my children as a legacy, said, this is worth thousands. And I thought, yeah, well, maybe. The thing is, and it's cost me much more than thousands of pounds. It's cost me my life nearly, and hundreds of thousands of pounds in training. In fact, probably millions, actually. And as I read it, I said, I want to make this so it's affordable for people, so I can help people like you get the results you want. And if you do nothing else, right, then you've got a copy of my free ebook, which can change your life now anyway. And the thing is that I wanted to make a difference, because this can really change your lives. And if you want to move your life to the next stage, you can just scan the QR code and you can order a priority copy of the Pathfinder. And if you're not watching the video, then there'll be another URL link to allow you to be taken to the Pathfinder to find out more information. And you can enter the podcast in the promo code box to get your special discount too. So, I would like to say thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself, because standing on the shoulder of giants is what makes us who we are, And I would just like to say that You're absolutely amazing. Whatever anyone ever says to you, you are absolutely amazing. And I would like to say and wish you an absolutely brilliant day, and I will see you again very shortly. Thank you. How effective do you think being a member of a network, of a group of like-minded people could be for you and your business? Well, that's exactly the reason why I founded the Transformer Business Network Group. And we meet every 2 weeks. A bunch of like-minded people, and the organisation started just after the start of the pandemic. And we've been going for over 2 years now, and my mission in life is to help guide, support business owners who are just like you get bigger, better results in business. And we do this by creating a group that's unique, simple and effective, and supporting veteran business owners and those who support veterans. If you fit into that category, then this is a great fit for you, and we'd like to hear from you. So if you follow the link now, and you can find out how to join us for a session to find out what it's all about. And until we meet, thank you and have a brilliant day. Welcome to the Health, Wealth and Mindset section of the podcast. And today I'm going to be looking at the wealth part of the trilogy in particular. So, what do I mean by wealth? Well, that's a very interesting question. You see, in my opinion, there are lots and lots of elements of the wealth program. One, of course, being financial. You know, how much money you want to make, how much money you do make, how much money you're worth. The thing is, in the Pathfinder program I've created and written, it provides you with a holistic guide about wealth. And it's not just about money. No, I do recognise, of course, that without money, life can be pretty tough. It can be challenging. And you know, sometimes you wonder, what is the meaning of life? I've been there. I've been in a place where I had no money and I wondered where my next meal was coming from, let alone any luxury. The thing is, when the possession of money is the only focal point, what you look at, then things can start to go dreadfully wrong. History is littered with characters who love money, lack moral fibre and neglected the very many other aspects of their lives. Because if you only focus on money, then you leave a lot of the qualities that you can develop and need to develop about yourself behind, and that's not healthy. So what I'm going to be looking at during this session is how you can help yourself. And even if you get a copy of the Pathfinder program or not, the thing is, if you listen to the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, then it'll really help you. And when I say 15 minutes, even though this part of the podcast may not last 15 minutes, once you've listened to what I've shared with you, then you process it. And it may well take you 15 days. It may well take you more than that to just process the information. Write down things that you've discovered about yourself as a consequence of listening to this podcast, and then see how you can get better. And of course, the Pathfinder program helps in all of those ways, because I created it specifically to help people like you who want to get better results in life. So I believe, right, that the purposeful knowledge about how to achieve success in the areas of your health, relationships, family, spirituality, lifestyle, business and career path, and of course, financial aspects of your life is really important. And it's like a wheel of life. And in the Pathfinder, I go through the wheel of life. And you see, the wheels are made up from segments of 0 to 10. Obviously, 0 is closer to the hub. 10 means you're going out for fulfillment and a fuller life. If you have different scores on the wheel, some will be close to the hub and some will be close to the normal end of the wheel. So you've got, if everything was 10, you'd have a perfect wheel. If you've got 10 in some, 5 in others, and maybe 1 or 0 in another, you're going to have a pretty bumpy wheel, right? Because it's not going to be an equal circle. It's going to have bumps in it, which means that as you're going along the journey of life, you're going to have a bumpy ride. So the purpose of looking at a holistic view of your life is so you can have a smooth life, happy life, with as little bumps as possible. Of course, we do get challenges. I know that. So let's have a look at some of the things that I've mentioned and maybe some tips on how you can get better results. So if we start by looking at your health, first of all, right? With health, right, it's what determines how long you are around to enjoy your wealth. That's why the financial or money isn't everything, right? It's not, it can't be, because you got to have good health to enjoy that. Now, it's proven actually 14 minutes of exercise per day, could be a walk, could be jogging on the spot, it could be a whole host of things, reduces the chance of stroke or illness. Just 14 minutes. That, I mean, to put it into context, while you've been listening to this podcast, you probably could have done exercise and got 3 days worth in 45 minutes, and in an hour, that's more than half the week's exercise. Whereas a lot of people just sit down all day at work, then sit down when they get home from work. So just break the cycle. Just get up, go for a walk, go down the street. If you're not in the country, it doesn't matter, that's okay. Just walk down the street, walk to the shops. Instead of getting in the car to go to the shop, just walk. Dead simple. So there's a top tip for you straight away. So it's important to build a long-lasting exercise program. And I'm not talking about going to the gym 7 days a week. No, just something simple. Something simple that's easy that you can do. Walking is pretty simple. So just do it so your life is improved. The next part of the circle of life, and by the way, I haven't got time to go through everything and just by a podcast for an hour. It's not possible to put everything that I've learned over my many years in life into a podcast. What I would like to do, though, is help you at least grasp a little of how you can do it. And some of it you may already be doing, and if you are, that's great. And if you're not, you may want to take some tips. So the next area is important, because with this, you can feel really happy and supported. Without this, you can often feel alone, isolated, and not able to get the best results possible that you're capable of. See, the next element to the circle of life is relationships. This can be your close friends, or those you often share a lot of time with. For instance, a close relationship I have, which it also spills over into the next element of life, is with my sons. Because I tell them, when we have chats, I do recommend that they choose the friends carefully. Because I don't know about you, if you've got children, or even if you've got friends that have not chosen the friends wisely, and look at the effect it's had on their lives. Some may end up in prison, some may end up doing things that aren't that great. When really, if they'd just chosen their friends better, they would have realised the potential, their true potential, and got so much more from their lives and better results. See, because who your friends are influence your actions, the behaviour, results long after you've met them. That's why I recommend to my sons that they choose their friends carefully, because when I'm not around anymore to give them tips, their friends will be, and they'll be continuing to influence their lives. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Moving on to the next element, which is closely linked with relationships actually, is something that you usually get as your birthright. Because with this, when you've got this element right, things can be really strong for you, and you will always have the support you need. And without this, then again, you feel isolated, maybe unsupported, and not necessarily achieving the true results, the true potential that you're capable of. Because this is, of course, family. Now, as I said, sometimes it's your birthright, i.e. you're born into a family that support you and give you lots of great tips along the way in life, from being a young child, and when you're a baby, they look after you. And you know, sometimes though, it's not always, sadly, it's not always the case that your family supports you in the way that you could. So often it might be that you've adopted your parents, or they've adopted you, or you've got someone that you turn to in times of trouble or in times of when you need advice, and that's family. It not necessarily birth family by biological family, parents. It's who you feel are your family, and it could be your friends. Right, so that's perfectly okay. So make sure you develop strong bonds with them, so you can impart your knowledge to them, and they can share their knowledge with you. So together you grow. Does that make sense? Fabulous. And this next area is also important. In fact, every element of the wheel of life is important. Remember, I started by talking about the wheel, equal diameter, circumference, right? Then when it's right and you're firing on all cylinders, i.e. each area is 10 out of 10, then you'll have a perfectly formed wheel. It's very difficult to get 10 out of 10, I know. And there's only a few people in the world who've probably achieved 10 out of 10. And I've not yet, certainly, because I don't have all the answers. You see, and this next one is important, because with this, you get something that you believe in that aligns itself with your values. And without this, then again, you can feel rudderless, really not sure of what the future holds, where you need to go to get the answers. And it is, of course, spirituality. Now, I'm not talking about spirituality in the sense of religion, because I believe that different religions have different messages. I think that the main message is all about love and an Almighty. The fact is, though, that I'm not focusing on religion per se. I'm looking at spirituality in the sense of your faith. The faith you have is really important. You can still and with that, you can still develop your belief system, which provides you with the necessary enlightenment to help you grow. The faith is the driving factor when things may not seem to be going your way. You know, when things are stacked up against you and you're thinking, what's happening? How come I just can't get it? Well, having the faith and the belief that you can carry on and just staying true to your mission can make an awful lot of difference. So spirituality is as important as the other elements of life. And this next one is, in my opinion, the magical one. And from what I've learned along the times of when I've been struggling, from not having any money, from being unwell, from nearly dying, and all those ups and downs in your life that you can get, because you've been there, haven't you? You know what I'm talking about. Everyone that I know has had a challenge at some point in their lives. So with this, you can learn how to overcome challenges, the processes that will just get you through any of the big challenges in life that you might have. And without this, when things get testing, then this is the difference between feeling okay and get through it, or feeling really low. See, because this one is all about mindset. Mindset is probably underestimated in a big way, unless you appreciate and have a good understanding of the power of mindset. See, because mindset is where you can develop your mind to an even greater understanding of your inner self, a greater understanding of what makes you tick, how you get there, how you overcome anything, any problem. Because it's probably the most essential quality you can experience in your whole of your life, because it's what guides you through everyday life and determines your success or failure. See, because with the right mindset, you can succeed even when everything else is telling you that failure is just around the corner. And guess what? If you do fail, hey, that's all right. You use that failure as feedback, because failure is the feedback of champions, as I was told some time ago. Failure is the feedback of champions, right? Because it's if success was all anyone ever got, if you're in the middle of having a failure now, you probably think that that'd be quite a good place to be, where success is all you ever got. Thing is though, if you only ever got success, how would you know that you were being successful? Because it'd be just same stuff, different day, wouldn't it? Just the same as if all you ever got was failure. That wouldn't be too good either. I'd rather have success actually than failure. If the only thing that you ever experienced was success though, that wouldn't have the reward that it does when you've experienced some failure. So failure is an important part. It's what teaches us lessons. It's what helps us grow. So in the Pathfinder program, I've looked at how you can get real success and the mindset from the success and how to develop your mind. And there's all work exercises in there and processes and guides on how to improve your mindset. And that's why I think mindset is really important. This next one, of course, is how you live your life. It's just what makes you tick. It's what your processes are. And with this, you can really get it right. And without this, then your results won't be as good as they could be. See, because this element of the wheel is lifestyle. And again, it's an essential element of your success because it represents your timetable of life. What you do when you get up, what the first thing is when you think about when you wake up in the morning. What is the next thing you do? Who your friends are, how much time you spend with them, how much time you spend working, how much time you spend thinking, how much time you spend eating, how much time you spend exercising, how much time you spend leisure, how much time you spend with your family, how much time you spend in your relationships. You see, because this encompasses everything that we've talked about so far. And there's one more I want to talk about before we finish on the wheel of life, because that's important. Before I do though, I just want to touch on the lifestyle a little bit more. Your lifestyle will determine where you live, who you live with, what you have, who you have it with, how much time you have, how much money you have, how much everything you have. And if you're in a place that's not so great at the minute, have a look at who your friends are, your relationships, how much time you're spending developing your mind, how much time you're spending developing your health, what your spirituality is like. And once you know that, write it down. Write it down, keep a journal. Because the next part of the element, the final one that I want to talk about today, is something that we spend a lot of our lives in. We spend as much as half of our lives in it at various times in our life, and it could be even more for some people. See, because when you've got this in abundance and it's happy, then this element can really reward you. And when you don't have it right, then you can think, what am I doing this for? Same stuff, different day. Oh no, not another day. See, because this element is your business or career path. What you do for a job, what you do for a living, how much you get paid, how much you don't get paid, how much spare time you've got, how much spare time you haven't got. Because on the basis that you spend almost half of your life at work, doesn't it make sense that you do something that you love? Because when you do something that you love, it's not a job anymore, is it? It's a hobby that you get paid for. And some people I know do work because they love it so much they're not particularly bothered how much they get paid. I know people who've been on really good salaries and then moved to a different job that they're more happy with, but taken a pay cut. I know people who have developed really great businesses and then sold at age 41 and then just retired, but done other things to give back to society, to give back to people in a less better off situation than them. So they've actually shared their knowledge and helped people grow. So your business or career path is really important, because this is a really important element. After all, if you spend almost half of your working career from the age of 18 onwards or even younger, then doesn't it make sense that you spend it in something that makes you happy? So that was the wealth section. So as we've discussed, wealth isn't just about money. Of course, having money is great. And that's why I created the Transformer program, with the business network, the Pathfinder, the ebook on Think You Can, Know You Can, and also the Mastermind and Beyond, plus looking at the financial aspects of an individual's planning, because it's all about bringing it together holistically, because a positive move in one area of your life can impact on another area of your life which might not be as positive. And when you start improving all the areas of your life in mindset, health, financial, spirituality, relationships, family, career, pastimes, leisure, when all of that is getting better, and guess what? It doesn't happen overnight. But when you do improve on a daily basis, then your life will be so much better, and you'll feel so much healthier, happier, and fulfilled for doing it. So that was this episode of Pull Up a Sandbag with Joe. I really, truly believe that you can achieve anything that you want to, so long as you put your mind to it. And until the next time, you've been absolutely amazing. I'm Joe O'Connor, and I want you to have a brilliant day. Thank you.